Senator Welch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir. I'm getting increasingly concerned about where the economy is going, and there's a number of things that I think we can't ignore. The consumer confidence numbers are dramatically dipping, and obviously, as you know, our economy depends on consumer confidence, folks buying things because they think they'll be able to pay for them. Inflation is ramping up. It's not going down. Unemployment figures are going up, 244,000 jobless last month. And the payroll numbers, 77,000 private sector jobs, according to ADP. That's the worst number since well over a year ago. And these are all signals that I know people in your job pay enormous amount of attention to. But I also think there's policies that are creating an enormous amount of anxiety, certainly in Vermont, and that's the tariffs, 25% tariffs with Canada, as well as Mexico. Is there an apprehension on your part at all that these tariffs, which would mean in Vermont probably 25 to 40 cents a gallon higher in gasoline prices? We import a lot of our petroleum from Canada. We import a lot of our electricity from Canada with the Hydro-Quebec contract. Folks will see a higher electricity bill at the end of the month when they're trying to balance their checkbook. Home heating fuel, we get a lot of that from Canada, and that's true for New Hampshire as well. I mean, how is that not going to have a very, very punitive impact on the folks I represent in Vermont?
Senator, the president's economic plan includes unleashing American.
I want to interrupt. I just asked a very specific question. My costs go up for gasoline. My costs go up for electricity. My costs go up for home heating fuel. A Vermonter says, Peter, how are we going to handle this? This is not a good thing for us. And I'm asking you, how are we going to handle this? They don't want to hear about, quote, the president's economic plan. They want to know how they're going to pay their home heating bill.
Right, and the way that we're going to do that is to bring down energy prices by unleashing American energy, bring down the cost of food and clothing and other aspects that Vermonters and Americans rely upon by bringing down regulation.
Well, I'm all for dealing with regulation, but you could have regulation without higher tariffs, right?
And then on the tariffs, I think that the president's objective is to address longstanding inequities in our international trade practices.
I'm talking about Canada.
Right, but
I'm talking about Canada.
As the president has explained, the Canada tariffs are to get them to focus on the fentanyl crisis that has been causing deaths.
You know, I understand that in the southern border, we've got full cooperation with Canada. They hate fentanyl just as much as we hate fentanyl. So you're telling me that the president is willing to make Vermonters pay 40 cents a gallon more for gasoline, maybe 10 to 15% higher for electricity, and 10 to 15% higher for home heating fuel, for our maple sugar producers to pay 25% more for the equipment they use, that's okay with the president?
I think what the president's looking to do is to get the Canadians to do more to help us address the fentanyl crisis that cost 100,000 American lives.
You're talking about what the president's goal is. I'm asking you as an economist, okay? There is a price that Vermonters will pay with these increased tariffs on Canada. Is that right, or is that somehow magically wrong?
I think that to the extent that the promise of these tariffs will compel the Canadians to take greater effort to address their role in the fentanyl crisis, then the president would be willing to remove those tariffs in order to have extracted that assistance.
All right, I'll try to make this clear. Will a 25% increase in tariffs on those items I mentioned, home heating fuel, electricity, gasoline, mean that Vermonters pay more for home heating fuel, gasoline, and electricity?
Again, Senator, it depends upon whether the Canadians take the steps the president's looking for and whether those tariffs remain in place.
But the tariffs are in place. I'm just asking whether those 25% tariffs will mean whatever reasons the president has for doing it. You know, Vermonters may accept that. But will Vermonters pay more as a result of those tariffs?
So, Senator, the economics on it are, it's split three ways. Some of it's going to show up in the currency, the exchange rate between the Canadian dollar and the US dollar. Some of it will be absorbed by the Canadian producers, and then some of it may find its way into prices in a one-time adjustment.
So does that, I'm going to try to translate that, but I can't. Does that mean Vermonters are going to pay more or less?
It means that there could be a one-time adjustment in the price that's paid as if the tariffs were to remain in place permanently. But again, if the Canadian government were to make changes such that the president releases those tariffs, then you would not see it show up in prices.
Okay, I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.